All right. So then the word for the veil in that context,
esteem and honor.
Right. Okay. You're talking about a wrap.
It's like where the hair has a wrap on her head, 4018. Okay. It's more clear in the Hebrew.
And do you think this is why now you see a lot of the house of Israel that the women that they cover their head with a beautiful like wrap, a handkerchief scarf. Or a scarf or something like that?
Well, because it matches the Hebrew word radid and spreading the veil, which we're going to look at in a few minutes, of Isaiah 3 verse 23, and also the word sa'if or sanif, which is another Hebrew word matching this word here in the Greek. Okay, It's not just her hair bare. Even though if her hair's real long, she actually can wrap her hair on her face or go like this and go like that and hold it. Right. You know what I mean? But it's not necessarily covering the face. It's just the hair. You know what I mean? Right. In this particular Greek word. So you could see it right here in the screen in the bottom. It says something thrown around one, that is a mantle, veil, covering vesture. So now what we're going to do is, I want you to know, people, that before we read verse 16 and cap off Corinthians chapter 11, that the Greek have a word for top of their head. Okay? And the Greek word for the top of their head is akon. There's actually two words, Greek number 509, Greek number 206. We're not going to go to it because of time.
Let me go. I just want to put something in here.
Okay.
Because I think that a lot of women have questions. As I'm hearing you talking,
I feel this message is turned from a guy thing to a girl thing.
Okay. So if a woman might say, well then, okay, Eliyahu, do I need to cover my head because I'm married? And remember, we read the verse about the messengers. So then, let's say on Shabbat, whenever we're opening the Shabbat and praying and giving thanks, then should a woman stand at the table come when we present ourselves before Yahuwah and we say, Baruch atah Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam hamatza lechem min haaretz, and we're giving thanks for the bread and all this, then do they need to have some kind of covering on their head? What do you think? I mean, we don't want to make up a bunch of rules either.
No.
But what do you think is right? Out of honor and respect for the Creator, should they put something over their head if they have something with them? And if not, do they have to step away from the table then? Are they not able to pray? Because I know that people out there have these kind of questions. They have
these kind of questions. You're absolutely right.
So let's address them.
I would say this. If it was according to this scripture in verse 1, he's teaching them the traditions and customs of Hebraic understanding to all the lost house of Yisrael that's been scattered. Okay? And he's taking away a little bit of the rabbinical, you know what I mean? And only keeping only Torah of Moshe. Okay? So now, if it's presentable that she has a scarf to put on her head to beautify her hair and her head, she don't have to cover her face, but then she's doing the prayer. But also spiritually, if her husband's standing next to her, now a spiritual covering is kicked in.
Okay.
Because her husband's standing next to her while she's doing the prayer at the table.
Right.
So there's a covering automatically.
Because her
husband's there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So it's kind of a twofold. Should it be physically or just symbolically covering?
Now, I'm going to say this. Now, if you go to like New York and you see all the Jews in New York, the women are required. They're required to
have a bonnet or beautiful thing on their hair.
Right. And
their face is not veiled, but
right, but their head is.
Right.
Now should we? Now is that? Do you think that is something that's coming out of man's rule, or do you think that that's legit and coming out of the Torah?
I think it's 100% Torah.
Me too.
Yeah, I think it's 100%.
We're in agreement. I think it is too. Do I think that a woman needs to walk around with the head covering permanently? I don't think so.
No.
Okay, but do I think that a woman should cover her head when she's in prayer and we're presenting ourselves before Yahuwah? And we're in let me say this, we're in a public place, or a place where there's a lot of believers.
Right.
Then you know what? I remember my grandmother and my mother and them back in the old days, they were Catholic. They would actually take they would reach in their purse and take a veil out and put it over their head.
Right. They knew the routine.
Right. So then, and I think this is right, but I don't want to tell people, if you don't do this, then you're wrong.
We're never going to put that on you people. Yeah. That's according to your own blushing conscience of Torah. What the word is written in your heart, and you want to wrap your head, beautiful women, and put it on while you're, if you're in your room and you got your long hair, you're brushing your hair, and you're praying to Yahuwah, that's on you.
Right. But we can't tell you what to do.
No.
But your husband, see, these are things that you need to talk with your husband, because your husband has that authority.
Right.
Not myself and brother and Eliyahu. We don't have that authority over any woman who's out there listening. Her husband does, okay, or her father,
right,
okay, or whoever's the head of her household,
the male authority,
right, the male authority in that home. Then he has the authority to tell you whether you should or should not wear it, okay,
right.
And that's something that you should discuss with your husband. So we're not trying to tell anybody to take off or put on a veil or whatever. We're just simply reading what the word is saying. And then you and your husband can.
Yeah, we know for me and we in our house shall serve Yahuwah according to Torah. This is what we're going to present for our women. Now, for another man's spouse, they have to come in agreement. You're 100%. Thank you for bringing it up. So there's a Greek word for the brim. For brim, okay? It'll be separate from the word head, but it'll have brim, just like we got the word veil or unveil separate from the word head. And that is the word anno, which is Greek number 507, very close to 509 in the Greek, so it's the top, the brim. And then this is one we discovered that was just kind of excited me, that there's the word for crown of your head. That's the crown where we wear a hat, okay? And that is Stephanos. That's the word Stephanos.
That's the name Stephanos.
Like the name. It is Greek number 4734 for your research, people. So if in this scripture we're reading, if it said, it is a shame for a man to have a covering on his rosh of Stephanos. That means a hat, anything on the crown and the scalp.
Right.
But it doesn't say that in Greek.
Right.
It doesn't say that at all. It means the whole head if a man's ashamed.
Right.
So there's no problem for a man to have any form of a kippot, a kippa, a knitted frik, they call frik, like a beanie, or a imal hat, or even they call it yarmulke. You know what I mean? That's another word that's used. That's another word that's used for describe different type of headwear.
Head covering. Yeah.
For the Yehudi. So we're not trying to put something heavy on you, but we want to show you the Torah to lift the burden of thought, because in the Christian community and also in the we say the Messianic Jewish community, our brothers in that community, they take off, they don't want people to wear kippas, but yet they'll put a French hat.
Right.
And I'm going to show you in a little while that French hat is called a skull cap. As well, you know what I mean? So, and it's just a lack of knowledge. I believe the brothers are going to wake up to it and realize it once they see it in the Greek, some people. And so I want to let you know there's 3 different words they could have used in Greek, but they never used it. It's not here in chapter 11, at all. So they use the head, meaning a whole veil covered. You know what I mean? So, and we're going to look at verse 16.
But if, however, anyone seems to be contentious, we do not have such a habit, nor do the assemblies of Elohim.
And we know that's iglesias.
Right.
Neither the iglesias, the called out synagogues. So these are Yehudi and grafted in Yehudi and converted Greeks and Persians and others from all over the world that are grafted into the iglesias, the called out synagogues of Elohim. And in contentious in Hebrew in Greek is actually to be quarrelsome or create strife.
Right.
And it could be very strifeful and quarrelsome in these congregations of what they put on their head.
Right. This time, that's why I was asking you those questions, because I know people have to have those kind of questions. And these type of verses bring up a lot of, you can feel the spirit, a contentious spirit and stuff like that when you're around a group of believers who are saying, yes, we should do this. No, everybody do this. Ultimately, Yahuwah gives the man the authority over the woman to say whether she should wear this or not. And I hate to, for some women might say, well, what kind of authority do we have? Then, the man is baruch by the woman because all men come from the woman, But as far as the Torah says, it says that the man is ultimately, he is your covering, whether it be your father, your husband, or you may be living with your brother or your grandfather or whatever it may be. It is so. Yah says, "Hey, a contentious spirit does not come from me." Okay,
right.
So let's not.
I think you hit it right on the head, brother, of a nail, with that verse in Corinthians concerning of the messengers. There must be a spiritual law.
Right.
That if a messenger sees a woman,
right,
veiled, properly clothed, right, not to tempt her, not to mess with her,
right,
because it would happen in the book of Enoch, and it's reminded and repeated in Corinthians.
And if somebody
it must have a supernatural value there, a protection for the woman.
So you might want to go to the book of Hanuk and read about what happened during those days, because like Brother Yochanan was saying last night too, that it talks about these messengers being released again, and what happens if they're released? And what about our women who are wearing scarves versus not wearing scarves?
Or women that are not moderate, that are very sexual, outward openness, with low cleavage showing and high skirts and legs. Those fallen messengers are going to say, I'm getting that one, I'm getting that one, I'm getting that one.
Right.
That one I can't touch because she's covered with Torah.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just saying there's something to think about and something that you and your husband should talk about.
So let's go to Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 3, verse 23.
The mirrors and the fine linen and the turbans and the large veils.
Now, hold that in your mind and heart, people. They use the word turban because that's an Aramaic word, okay? It's actually more of an Islamic word, but it's Aramaic, okay? And I'm going to click it to the King Imus, and it says the glasses, the fine linen, okay, sardine, envelope wrapper, shirt, fine linen, and then hoods. Okay, this word hoods is terrible. It's actually terrible in English, but in Hebrew, it's actually the word sanif or sanof or sanifa, which means a piece of cloth wrapped around as a diadem miter on the woman's hair. In other words, she's got a wrap with her hair, and their hair's long, so it goes up high. Like a woman put a towel coming out of a shower, you know what I mean, on her head. So it's wrapped in the hair, and it's called a diadem, a hood, a miter. Because we don't use the word miter because we know those miters are those fish Conan hats, you know what I mean? So, and then it says veils. Now, veil, of course, is radid, and that is to veil your face. So now, and veils. So veils is specifically different than the 6797, which is sanif or sanifa. Okay, now I'm going to read it in the OJ, and you're going to be totally shocked. As it says here, it says, the hand mirrors, the sidim, linen coverings, and the zenifot, they call turbans. Of course, the Hebrew word we use is zenifot, and the veils. So the zenifot is what's wrapped around the hair for her crown, for her esteem, and you follow what I'm saying?
Right.
And like a covering over there. So this is the Hebrew word that's used for women where they take their hair, like we just read in Corinthians chapter 15, of chapter 11, verse 15, of putting that wrap around their hair. It's not a veil on their face,
right,
but it is a wrap. You know what I mean?
Right. If you read this verse in context, what it's saying in this chapter, it's describing wearing a veil as something that's of value. Like,
right,
it's talking about ankle bracelets. It's talking about
full woman's dress,
pendants. It's talking about veils, headdresses. So a headdress is not necessarily something that it's a decoration,
right?
Okay. So, in today's society, then in the Western society, we see it as okay. If somebody is wearing a headdress, then it's a religious thing, and it's oppressive. Really, I mean, really, we see
it's not beautiful to them.
Right? They want to see the hair flowing and all this kind of stuff, but in those Semitic mindset, the Eastern mindset, it's a beautiful thing for a woman to wear a headdress.
It is very beautiful. So here is the Hebrew word 6797. It is a fake word, hoods, with the S, and it's a very poor translation, but the transliteration of 6797 in Hebrew, which is sanif or sanof or sanifa, and that could be the different Hebrew descriptions of how it's wrapped. I don't know. If somebody's Hebrew and a woman that knows this, she could tell me. It says a headdress, that is a piece of cloth wrapped around as a diadem or a mitre. They say hood, but it's a mitre. So it's all with the hair. It's not a veil, because as you see, veil is the next word over, 7289. Okay? So it's an expanding veil, meaning the veil is over their face. All right? So there's two different descriptions of clothing here for women. You know what I mean? Right here, as we see right before us in Isaiah chapter 3, verse 23. Okay? The other one is in Genesis 24:65. 64, verse
64. And
you may read it.
Okay, it says, and Rivka lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel, and she had said to the servant, "Who is the man walking in the field to meet us?" And the servant said, "It is my master." So she took a veil and covered herself.
And it's saif, which is mean a complete veil. Zanif, zaif, or zanif fa. So she completely wrapped herself. She wasn't veiled until she saw her future husband.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because she's in the camel, they're traveling. You know what I mean? It's hot and stuffy. So and then it says here, the next verse after she took a veil and covered, which is kasa. Okay? So she overwhelmed herself with the veil. You know what I mean? It was
completely covered herself.
Yeah, it was like an Arabian Night little tiny feathery thing flop on the face, and she completely covered. Okay. And so those are the two words of description here I wanted to show you. Now, in the word head in Hebrew is Genesis 24:26, which we can go to it because we're right here at the chapter. Let's back up to verse 26.
No, I just want to just show something real quick. In Genesis 24:65, 66, it says, and the servant told Isaac all the matters that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother's Sarah's tent, and he took Rivkah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. It's just something very interesting there that after she veiled herself, then he takes her as her wife immediately.
Because he explained to the servant, explained to him that they made a cut. The parents gave her away. He exchanged the gifts with the parents for Isaac's behalf.
Right. So there's a price to pay for the bride.
Right.
And Yahushua paid the price for the bride.
Right.
When he became
so the dowry was exchanged.
Right.
The gifts were exchanged. She had 2 female servants coming from her with her because she came from a wealthy house anyways too.
Right.
And at the same token, they said, yes, she agreed to marry you.
Right.
There was no playing around. It was like a year of courting all in one few weeks.
Right. I don't even see a ceremony.
No, there's no ceremony. The ceremony, he took her in.
Right. Right. That's what I wanted to say. If a man is with a woman, the word says, Yahuwah says that man and that woman become one. Not if the state says. Okay?
Right.
We are different than the rest of the world. Or the rest of the Western world mindset that has crept in and said, oh, you need to have this marriage certificate in order for you to be married. Well, their law does not trump the law of the Creator. It does not trump the law. If you sleep with this woman, you are now married to her.
Right.
Okay.
That's what covenant. You made a covenant. Well, they might have made a physical covenant, but there's a piece of each other together because of the intimacy. You know what I mean?
Right. Especially if they're during that, especially if that woman is a virgin. Excuse me for saying these things, but I want you to understand, especially if a woman is a virgin and there is blood during that covenant. Right. That is a real covenant.
That's the blood covenant.
That's the blood covenant. Okay. Right. So there's no going back on that. I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe somebody needs to hear that.
And in Israel, in the Orthodox area, they do put the sheets out the next day or 2 days later.
Right, to prove that she's a virgin.
Yeah, to complete the contract that the father said, my daughter's a virgin.
Right.
Okay, and in Mexico, in some areas, they still do it too.
Yeah.
They still do it too.
Yeah.
That the contract was valid.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was complete.
If they're in some of those Latin countries, guess what? If there's no blood, there is no covenant. She was not a virgin.
Right.
All right.
Because it has to have the blood covenant, just like our Messiah did for us.
Right.
Right. And verse 26.
And the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahuwah.
Okay, that word is Hebrews 69:15, which is kadat, which is basically his whole head with his neck bowing down. The head is from the neck up. You know what I mean? This is a description. This is kadat. The most used word, and we're not going to go to it, but you could go to it in Genesis, people, chapter 40, verse 16. It is the Hebrew number 7218, and it's Rosh. And that means a full head position, standing up, not bowed, but it's still from the neck to the scalp, crown. The other word that we use a lot, but it's description for hats, or tires, or turbans, or what we saw in the Hebrew word for turban, and it is the word kod, which is Hebrew number 6936, and it's found in Genesis. This is when I say found. There's quite a few times. I'm just using examples. 49:26. And that is in Bereshit, 49:26, Hebrew numbers 69:36, and it's kod, which means the crown, the scalp, the top of the head. Also found in Psalms 68:21. Okay, so that's when you put a crown, a hat, as a crown, any form of a hat. I don't care if it's a military hat, baseball hat, whatever. It's covering your crown of your head and your scalp. When you mean scalp, people, that means exactly what it is. It's the part of the skin that has hair. Okay, so if you put a hat there, it's not covering your face. It's only covering the scalp of your top of your head. It's only covering the kudkad, crown, top of the part of the head, but it's not a veil over his face. You get that, people? It is completely different. And the other Hebrew word is in Exodus 29:6, used quite much, Hebrew number 5145. It's Nazir. It's the same word we get Nazorayin or Nazir, Kodesh, called out one or set apart one. And it's used for the crown of the hair. Okay, the crown of the hair. And it also unshorn locks on the side of the head. You know what I mean? So, but in Genesis 24:65, which we looked at, that word kasa, there's a word kasa for covering your face, 3680, which is kasa, to cover your face. So there's Hebrew words for attire, a turban, on top of your head, and then there's Hebrew words for parts of the head. Okay, so we're trying to show you that when you put a hat and pray, it does not affect you because you're not covering your face.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your whole head is not completely, like brother said, you get a beach towel, throw it over your face and stand in front of everybody trying to pray.
Right.
You know, that's a shameful thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in Hebrew, we got the word for gray head. We got the word for the brain inside your visions in your head. Daniel 2:28, 2:32, chapter 4:5, and verse 10 and 17 of chapter 4 of the thoughts in your head. So there's a Hebrew word for in your head, and then also the ones we just showed you, and also there's a Hebrew word for the neck. All right, and what part of the neck? So we just letting you know this, that when somebody is robbing and stealing you from your shalom to wear a hat while you pray, okay, that is American and British when they used to take off their hat and go to the Circe.
Right.
But we don't go to Circes. We don't go to churches.
Right.
We go to the iglesias.
Right.
They're called out synagogues.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So all of these things, like covering your head and doing all these things, these kind of customs actually come from the Torah.
Right.
And people were doing them back then, and not until not too long ago we stopped doing them.
Right.
Women stopped wearing veils. Men stopped wearing hats.
In my lifetime, I grew up in my neighborhood and the women were doing it.
Right.
And even across the tracks, the Spanish women were still doing it.
Yeah, and in my lifetime, the women that were older, the older women were doing that. But the younger women who are now my age, and that's in their 50s, are no longer doing that.
Right.
So and also, you know, when you would go to the Kehillah, or let's just say a place of worship, you know, you would see people would actually kneel down and pray. There was reverence for the Creator,
right?
You know, and then there's a psalm that talks about that, and it's Psalm 95. Psalm 95 says, "Come, let us sing to Yahuwah. Let us bow down. Let us come before the Creator. Come, let us bow down and bend low. Let us kneel before Yahuwah, our Maker." So these things we're kneeling before, you know, kneeling and praying and wearing veils and putting a cap on to show that you have a covering over you. These are not just traditions. These are things that the Torah talks about doing, that they were actually doing back then.
And there were reasons.
Right. Out of reverence for the Creator.
Right. Yeah. And why couldn't not a fallen messenger tempt a woman that was covered? That's amazing.
Right, it is.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and for the women, as I showed you on the screen, that the beautiful diadem wrap on your hair, we call them scarves today. You know what I mean? But it's a full wrap with a beautiful garment to match your clothing or whatever. I notice in Afro-American Circes, the women really strut their veils and hats.
Right.
In the black congregations, brother.
Yeah.
They strut their hair and their feather and their hats.
Right. They wear their big hats with their little veil
and the little veil over their face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Telling everybody, I'm covered.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you know, back here in Texas and in the South, women used to do that, you know, not too long ago, just a generation or less than a generation ago. You know, my father's generation, that generation is now leaving, but even the Anglo-Americans here, the women wore big hats here in the South,
bonnets,
with
hats,
bonnets and with veils and stuff when they would go to a place of worship, and they had head coverings on.
But all that's changed because that's what we always say. Christianity is backslidden of itself.
Right.
Of its own self.
Slowly, it has backslidden. Now you can go on Sunday, the SUN worship day, and you can go early in the morning, go to a restaurant. You can go and buy.
They all hug each other. They don't care if they're married or nothing.
Yeah.
They're hugging each other in the corridor.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa.
Brother, back in the old days, you couldn't even go to the store on the
gas station. There was no gas stations open.
That's right. It was closed. I remember stores would not close till like in San Antonio until like about 11 o'clock. About 11 or 12, the store would open. But if you went anywhere on the Sunday morning before that time, excuse me for using that word, it was closed.
Now for me, it was all the way to 2 and 3. Because I'm a few years older than you, and then the clock started going backwards.
Slowly, right.
2, 1, 12. The gas station started opening up at 11 and 12.
Right.
All the radio station was Christian music.
Right.
Or Hebrew or whatever. It was religious music. All the seculars, even the oldie but goodie stations were playing congregation music. Right. Or live TV or live radio programs of those congregations. You know what I mean? But that's all gone. Now on your screen, this is the Greek word kata-lup-tu, which is mean completely veiled, even in the neck. And the next picture is the same thing. And this is Buff Products, so I'm putting a little plug in for Buff Products. It's a great product for snow gear and ski gear, you know what I mean? But people wear it in New York, Chicago, this particular product. And this man is veiled. This is called veil, what I'm showing you in the picture. This next picture is a military guys, okay, with a full gear and also covered their head and covered their face for the snow. Okay, that would be like a full veil. The guy's totally veiled for the snow and being out there, out there in the military training, in the elements, right? Now, would he pray like that? Would it be a shame for a man to walk into an iglesia and start praying like that? It would be kind of strange.
Yeah, it would be kind of strange.
You know, he would have to pull down the hoodie from his face, show his mouth, and start to pray.
Right.
Even if it was cold outside, or take off his hat, or whatever. So, but he could keep his military hat on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now, if you were out there in Afghanistan in the mountainous snow and you're fighting terrorists and you're praying, you mean the Father's not going to hear your prayer, brother, because you got this gear?
No, he'll hear your prayer.
He'll still hear your prayer, right? Now the next one is called the knitted frik. It's called frik or frike, F-R-I-K. These are the type I kind of like because it covers my whole, around the whole skull cap, okay? And it's called the cod crown hat, okay? What I'm showing you in the screen right now. This is the crown hat. And this is what a lot of the people that are Israelites in Israel believe in the Torah, but they're not a part of the rabbinical Hasidic, okay, type of the Talmud, wearing white and black in their own Pacific, what they call like the Russian fur hats, which are tires. Those are tires, like a crown. It's actually like a crown on his head. Yeah. It has nothing to do with covering his face.
No.
Wearing that furry hat of keeping his head warm in the pole in Russia and stuff like that, you know. The next one I'm going to show you here is a woman's bridal veil, okay? This is, is it a shame for a man to put one of those on? Oh, most certainly it's a shame for a man put a bridal veil on.
Now, that would be very awkward and very strange if a man walked into a place of worship like that.
With a beard and a veil over his head, and it has a little crown holding the veil down.
Right. But you know, in today's perverted society,
They do. I probably could find
you
pictures
could
of
probably
that.
find pictures of men dressed like that.
Right.
And you can and see how perverted this society has become.
Right. Here's another Yehudi woman getting married, and she's got veiled, and she's got a crown around her kokat, her scalp area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then we're going to go to the next picture. There's another woman here with a crown, a beautiful crown, getting ready for it. She's a bride. She's got a veil. She's ready for her marriage. And that's the kokat. That's the top of their head. That's the part of the scalp and the top crown of the head. Okay? It is not, this is a full veil.
Right.
You know, but she's got the ornaments around the head, forehead as a crown. Okay? Because that's her night.
Yeah.
The next one is a bonnet. This is like the old Western days, okay? Bonnet. Her hair is tucked in. Usually this is for women. They got fancier ones when they went to their iglesias. But this was used for the purpose of everyday work, whatever they're doing every day. Or they go outside in the weather or whatever. And it's to protect their head and their covering head, this bonnet. Believe it or not, the bonnet is called a skull cap, brother. It's a skull cap bonnet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one is, this guy's actually Yehudi, and this is not even called a turban. This is the Hebrew word for the wrap around his head. This is a crown on his head. Okay, now, if he prays, he's not going to be hurt. It's not covering his face.
Right, and you know, I see the Messianics in Mexico, and whole congregations cover themselves like that. And now, do you mean to tell me that Yah's not hearing their prayers? None of them,
because of Christian thinking,
right? Not with the turban, but with the Yemenite type veil,
right?
Right.
So, and this is a person, and I'm putting a little plug in for a person selling her products. This is a zizit and a shirt with a zizit and the blue trim in the bottom. And it also has what you call in the Aramaic English term, turban. It's a wrap for men. And you see a lot of the black Hebrew Israelites, they do wear a type of turban wrap on their heads when they're going into the iglesias. You know, I mean, they're going into the shuls, their place of study on Shabbat. And is there something wrong with them? No, there's nothing wrong with the Hebrew Israelites wrapping their head with a beautiful white cloth of purity as a crown on their head. Their face is not covered.
Right.
Their face is not covered. Okay. Here's a brother. This is old school. All right.
That's the type that I can't see that one on the screen yet because there's a delay.
Right.
But is it the Yemenite one?
Yeah, it's the Yemenite brother showing his cloak of colors and tribal colors.
If you look at the Quejilas in Mexico, they're dressing something like that.
Right. And they got colored coats like that too.
Yes.
You know. So, and he's got a wrap on his head. And is his face covered? No. Can he pray? Yes, he can pray. And the Father hears his prayer. You know what I mean?
Right.
The next one is, this is dated 1914. And I really want you to look at this. And this is even for the people that are learning to be a part of the study of the Yehudi, understanding Big Brother Judah. You see he has a tefillin on his forehead. He's reading the Torah. Right. He's got it wrapped in his hands and the shim, and then he has a nice, pretty kippah color on his head.
That's the one I was talking about, brother.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then he has his tallit over his head, but it's not covering his face.
Right.
And he's reading publicly. You know what I mean? He's doing the prayer, and people joining in, and he could be privately. He was a famous rabbi, and he's a Yemenite rabbi also from 1914.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I'm seeing some of the Messianic houses taking on that
look,
that type of garment. Yeah.
Well, this guy, I'm doing a little input for this young man. He's a Yehudi. The young man has a ministry called, you could go on YouTube and listen to him. He uses Paleo Hebrew. He teaches the men 2 different styles. It's called Turpentine in 2 styles in YouTube. So I'm giving a plug-in for the guy, okay? Right. He has Paleo-Hebrew Yahuwah. He's got all kinds of clothing with Paleo-Hebrew of Yahuwah. And you could go on YouTube, and it's Turpentine in 2 styles. And this young man shows you how to do it, okay? He's got his beard. He's using his peyot on the sides of his ears, okay? It's not very long. It's not the kind you put an iron on it and burn it. I don't believe in putting curlies on my head, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'll let my hair grow on the sides. So, and this brother has a good little teaching on YouTube. You can watch him. This is also a very old painting from a famous Rebbe, and people would look at him and say, well, is that guy from India? Is that guy from Pakistan? What is he? You know, is he a Christian Pakistani? What is he? You know, no, this is a Yehudi. This guy's a Yehudi, right? And very well-groomed, big beard, very well-groomed. His peyot is blended into his beard in the sides. And then he has a beautiful crown type of shatel, or I don't even know what the Hebrew word is. If you know, you can tell me, but it's not the word turban. So, and it's a very good dress. When he prays, his face is not covered. This is the crown of his head, and it represents his position as a Rebbe, a famous Rebbe. Now, I'm showing you this picture here, and I'm showing you in a show. One brother has a hat. He's got it pushed back, which means something, and I'm not going to get to it when the hat's totally back, but he has a tefillin on his head. The other man has his prayer shawl. His face is showing. He has a tefillin on their head, and they're doing the Shema Yisrael prayer. Okay? They're crying out the Shema Israel to hear, O Israel, and repent from your sins. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is the one wearing the prayer shawl covered his head? No, his face is still showing. Right. His face is still showing, people. Okay, you got to get the understanding of this. Okay, like I said, in the beginning of this teaching, we're not defending the rabbinical, and we're not putting them down, and we're not defending the Ethiopian, African, the way they do their hair and put their tires on their head, or their veil. Not the veil, it's the turbans. And we're not defending the Hebrew Israelites from America. You know what I mean? For they wearing their particular turbans on their head. We're showing you just the word and take it for what it is. Okay? Right. The difference from a full covering veil and the difference from partially. Now, when I'm showing you here, this woman in Hebrew as well is Sanifta. She's taking her hair, a piece of beautiful clothing, and wrapping her hair, which is her esteem and honor, on her head as a crown. It's her scalp, actually. It's not even on the forehead as a crown, okay, what you're seeing on the screen. All right? It's not even on the forehead. This is only completely with the hair, okay? So it's a kokad, okay? It's not a complete crown, but it's the top pate, P-A-T-E, of the hair, okay? Right. And this is the way Israelite women wear their clothing when they're doing shopping or whatever they're doing. Here's an Afro-American sister. She has a product. She sells these things. I've been to Afro-American congregations, iglesias, and they sport it like a crown, man. It's real beautiful. You know what I mean? Right. The way they sport it. Her face is not completely veiled, but she's got a crown on her head representing she's covered. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's very beautiful with their clothing and dress when they wear this. Here's another sister. And I've seen Ethiopian women wearing this. I've seen the Nubian wearing this. And this is a beautiful wrap matching her dress. Okay? And this is what you call kokad. You know, the scalp and the top, the pate, P-A-T-E, of the head. Okay? So, and it's also where we get the Hebrew word for sanifah or sanif. Okay? So, this is the wrapping, even among them. Now I'm showing you a more modern dresser, and I don't even know if she's a believer. I just got this picture, and she's using a traditional wrap with her hair. Her hair's long. She's got it really nice, and she's got a scarf on her neck if she's going to go into prayer. You know what I mean? Right. She's got a scarf on her neck. The next one believe it or not, is a skull cap. All right? These are called winter covering beanie type of skull caps. All right, this is what everyday today use. They could pull it over their face more. I had one in Jerusalem. I used to have very thin material because Jerusalem's up on the hill, and it snows, and the wind gets cutting sometimes when it's 30 degrees. It'll cut right through your ears and nose and face. So I was able to pull it down over my face or take it and put it in my neck because the top was not completely covered. You can actually pull it down around your neck and protect your neck and flip it onto your ears. Or you can wear it like a beanie.
Right.
You know? So it could be a neck covering but believe it or not, this is a winter covering skull cap. Okay? The next one is a Yehudi woman, another Yehudi sister. She looks Sephardic, and she's got her wrap around her head, a kokad. She is not completely veiled, but it's a part veil because she's covering her hair with beauty. Okay. The next picture is another Yehudi sister. I hope they don't mind me using their pictures, because she's got her label up there, so I'm doing a little plug-in for her product because they're selling these products, these women. Okay. And so there's the way her hair's wrapped. Or a little bit of her hair is way in the back, kind of, I don't know, it might be to get showing a little bit, but this is like a skull cap, but a skull covering for a woman wrap, okay? This next one is a famous painting in the year 5020. That's the year they put. His name is Rabbi, he's a certain rabbi praying. Now, is his head covered? No, people. His head is not covered. He's got his tefillin. He did his wrap prayer and his shema. Now he takes his tallit and puts it right behind his tefillin, and it hangs down, and he's doing the prayer. Okay, he finished the Shema Israel. Now he's doing a prayer. He's reading his prayers. Okay, so this gives you an example, and of course he has golden brown stripes on his tallit. Wow, I've never seen this. This is an old painting. You know what I mean? And he's wearing a red robe, like a Yemenite or one from Lebanon, but they're Yehudi. Now, is this boy's head covered? No way is his head covered. It's just a kippa. It's just the scalp. It's called a kukad covering. That's all it is. His face is not covered. Is his face covered? Is all his head completely covered? No. This is so minute. As a matter of fact, most Yehudi get bald back there, and that's a good cover to cover the bald spot with his kippah, And so, and that part of the head, there's a Hebrew word in that part of the head, okay? The front part of your head is kabak. The back part of this picture I'm showing you is called a karaf. All right, so it's a different part of the head, okay, that it's covering, but it's not a complete covering. His face is not veiled, nothing veiled about it. And you can say all you want that, the Catholics, they made the Jews wear a certain kippahs during the certain 100 years of the Dark Ages and blah, blah, blah. They might have given them a color-coded kippah. But remember, who was in the camp before the Catholics? The Yehudis were here hundreds, thousands of years before the Catholic Church, Roman Apostolic Catholic Church came into being. I'm telling you right now, Greek Orthodox are different than the Roman Orthodox Catholic Church. Okay? The Roman Catholic. The picture you see here is women with burqas. Okay? But I want to tell you something. Is that man's head covered? No. That's his crown. Okay? There's a problem going on in Israel. It's a little different type of burqa, but these women could be Jewish because there's a sect of Yehudi women in the ultra-Orthodox. They fully burqa cover their women. Okay. And they based on Torah only of the time of Abraham and Moshe. Okay? And they don't have their eyes looking through a net, and they don't have gloves like some of the burqas of the Islam, but there's a little bit of a color brim around their wrist showing something there, okay, who they are. They could be Arab women with a burqa veil, and it could be Yehudi, because there's Yehudi women in the old court of Jerusalem that do wear clothes like this, okay? Now, what you're seeing here is like the time of Abraham, like the time of Moshe. And this is the type of clothing, all right? They're veiled but not veiled. They can easily veil themselves to pray, but yet this is the common dress, okay? And this will be a description like the time. This is a kokad, crown, top, covering, not a veil. But one of them has got her neck veil. She can easily pull it up. You know what I mean? If she wants to cover herself to pray, whatever. And this would be like the time of Abraham, Ishak, Jacob, Rebecca, Sarah, Raquel. It could be the time of Moshe. You follow what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to ring your ear a little bit here. Believe it or not, this French hat, Beretta, is called a skull cap. It's called a skull cap, people. I went online and searched it. It's called a Beretta skull cap. Why? Because it covers the top of the skull, of the crown, and a little bit of the scalp. Okay? So, you know, when people say, oh, the Jew, the Yehudi, they're wearing a skull cap, they're wearing a yarmulke, they're wearing a kippot or kippah, or a knitted frik, or whatever. Please excuse me. This is called a Beretta skull cap. Right. I looked it up, and you got your famous friend there. This is actually in a museum. It's a clay. It's not a real picture of him. It's a shot from a movie, but it's actually an artificial picture of him. Okay, in a museum. This is a famous actor, which I'm not showing you his face, and he's wearing a French hat, and it's called a skull cap, but in the form of a French hat. All right? So remember, my brothers of Israel, when you point your finger to your big brother Judah and said, oh, they're wearing kippahs, we don't do that, because the Catholic Church and all that, come on, man, get off it. His face is not covered. Okay? Now here's the same guy, but he's wearing a Beretta. Okay? He's wearing a Beretta, and that, guess what? The Beretta is called a skull cap. Okay? Because I went, now, this is going to shock you. Okay, bear with me when I'm showing you. I used to have a helmet like this when I used to ride my Harley. Okay? This is called this is a certain number of strength of protection. I had one of those because you can pop the sun visor out real easy. But this is called a motorcycle skull cap helmet. It's not a full helmet because it doesn't go around the ears and the neck and around the jaw. So this picture is actually a skull cap motorcycle helmet, not a cycle, motorcycle helmet. It's a skull cap. That shocked me when I looked it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got some input there?
No.
The next one is a female. It's actually a mannequin with a wig. And this is a skull cap also for a woman. Okay, to wear on her head if it's windy or whatever, a skull cap. Okay? These are called scullies. All right? There's a one product called scullies, and this is a product. This is the kind I have in Israel. Okay? They have different colors because I can actually pull it all past my face and put it around my neck and lift it around my ears and then put my my hat on. And my face is showing, but I got my neck and ears keeping from freezing when that cold wind comes up into Jerusalem. You know, because we're up in the hill. You got to realize that was a threshing floor before they built the walls. That was a threshing floor that David bought. Okay, so these are like a scullies. This other picture, I'll leave you to think a minute. What do you think that is? This is an ancient Greek artifact called a skull cap. What I'm showing you on the screen. This is a skull cap, okay? If the Greeks use. Some of the people that are priests of different pagan deities, they would just take the design and put different colors or different designs of cuts. This is a standard person, Greek person skull cap. Okay. These are cycling skull caps. All right. Now, if I'm going down the road in my bicycle with one of these, and I'm putting a little bit of a little plug-in for Cycling Skull Cap Company here with their little emblem, okay, and I'm doing a plug-in for them. If I'm going down the road riding my bicycle, you mean if I pray with my skull cap on my head going down my bicycle, the Father's not going to hear my prayers, brother? You're not going to hear my prayers because my head's covered. No, that's my skull. That's a kokad covering. It's my crown, my banner. I'm a bicycler. You know what I mean? If somebody walks into a restaurant, puts that on the table and says, "Oh, you're a bicycler, huh? Where's your bike? Oh, it's parked out there. What kind you got?" You know? This is going to shock you. This is what you call a standard baseball safety cap. But guess what it's called? A skull hard cap baseball. This is amazing. So if I'm praying with one of these in the baseball field and Father's not going to hear my prayer,
Right.
you know, doesn't make sense. This one, I have one. I have a Russian one with a lot of fur. This is not a completely veiled cap. It's an ear protection, skull cap, sun visor type. They also had versions of this when they used to ride motorcycles, which I'll show you. But this is a skull cap also. These are becoming very popular. See them at Walmart or whatever. And these are Scullies. Here it's called Chill It's. I'm putting a plug in for their product. And I have a black one like that. I've seen friends with the fire, and I've seen military ones. Guys wear them to hold their hair back when they're riding their motorcycles. Okay? Because we're in Texas, we don't need a helmet. And this is another Scullies, they call them. Font cap autumn winter. Very nice designs and colors. People get their colors if they're Scottish, if they're Irish. They come from different parts of the world. And these are called skull caps too. Is his face covered? Is it veiled? No, it's not veiled. This is a burqa. This is a 100% burqa of a certain type of it's actually in Great Britain. And this is a shame what they're doing to the women. This is a total burqa, and even wearing gloves and all the way down to the bottom. It's amazing that her veil has a form of a zizit in the side. Little zizits coming down, hanging down. Okay, it's sad, but it's a black burqa. Okay, this would be a full veil. And this is this is sold in a sporting goods for hunting, but this would be a total veil. There's another woman with a burqa. There's another woman with a burqa. And these are women veiled and praying. Okay? Some are covering their face in the prayer and some are not. This is a full veil, and that's one of the Hebrew words we shared with you. This man is veiled. If he walked into an iglesia with this and start to pray, it would be very shameful. It would be weird and shameful. Okay? This is what you call a katak aluptu, which is a Greek statue. You don't see these pictures, people. You see all the naked goddesses. You know what I mean? You don't see these Greek statues. Because Leonardo da Vinci was a pervert, Michelangelo, they showed the Renaissance of naked Greek women. But not all the Greek women walked around that. This woman is wearing a crown of flowers around her head with a veil on her face, and this is ancient Greek art. Here's another katak aluptu, completely veiled, believe it or not, Greek woman. This is from a museum. This is a clay. I don't know how tall or big it was, but this is a clay description of a woman veiling herself in the days of Greece. And she had like a little hoodie cap with a sun visor on top, even back then in Greece. Ain't that something? Okay? So, I'm done with that. We thank you for tuning in to Eagles Haven Ministry, HaRuachEliyahu channel. We thank you for watching us. You see on the screen my brother Anayahu, if you want to email him. And also on my screen, my P.O. Box, but also on the other screen, my Eagles Haven Ministry at yahoo.com, which is where you can email us also separately. Email me and my wife separately. Now, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to do anything more. If you're interested into the replacement theology pamphlet, I'll mail it to you for free. Write to me and give me a full name, address at Eagle Saving Ministry at yahoo.com. If you want a PDF or Word file, I'll send it to you through the internet. If you want a hard copy, I'll do it both if you want. If you want a hard copy, I'll mail it to you. I just want to thank you for tuning in to Eagle Saving Ministry and HaRuachEliyahu channel.
Shalom, shalom.
Do you have any input before we shut down?
No, I just want to say shalom, shalom, and thank you for joining us. And we'll be doing some more videos. So
we just praise Yahuwah for the opportunity to come into your home and take the veils off.
Right.
Actually take the veil off to let you know that you have the freedom, brother, to have a baseball hat going down the road or a John Deere cap and pray while you're driving down the road praying for people. Right. You know what I mean? You have the freedom to go. You're not in bondage. Christians say we're in Torah and we're in bondage. No, they're in bondage. You know what I mean? Right. I get to have a hat, beanie, anything, walk into a store and pray for people. I don't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? My conscience is clean because I know what is a crown on my head, a protective sun scalp cap or a sun visor over my eyes, that it's not my face and all. So be free in Torah, people. Hallelujah.
We're getting a lot of requests or I've been getting a lot of requests for Brother and I to do a calendar.
Yeah, teaching. We're getting very close. I think next week is the week, man.
So yeah, I think so too. There's other topics we want to do, but it seems like the calendar is really weighing on everybody's heart. And before we do this teaching, I just want to say, I feel like I should say this, that I don't think that anybody has the whole calendar and knows exactly
the beginning, the equal
beginning
day and equal night.
Yeah, and so, but we can show you what we have. Okay, and where we're at.
We're definitely going to show you that there's no such word as sunrise and sunset.
Right.
It's eastward and westward in a circuit.
Right. This kind of the calendar kind of goes hand in hand. Well, it does go hand in hand with the feast.
Right.
Okay. And I was emailing somebody last night about that. How we can keep the feast, which are the rehearsals.
Right.
But at some point, we have to know when the wedding day is.
Right.
Okay, so we're keeping the feast, but the wedding date and how we get there. Now, Yahuwah always talk about the way, to go in the way. The Torah talks about the way. Believers back in the old days said that they're believers of the way. Okay, so we're following in the way, but what we don't have right now is the calendar. So, and there's many people out there researching it, and I've seen a lot of people come out and say, yeah, this is it. Yeah, that is it. I'm going to say this. Everyone that I've seen so far, I have found something wrong with. Every single one.
One way or another.
One way or another. So we don't have the calendar exactly. We're not saying that this is it. What Brother Eliyahu and I say, that this is definitely, no. But we're going to go through Scripture and show you what we have seen, and the shape and size and the way that we see the earth has a lot to do with the calendar.
And you know what, too, brother? People are stuck in this tradition that you got to buy a calendar or have the calendar set up a year, 2 years, 3 years ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
I think that's programming.
That's right.
Because 2 or 3 witnesses would make the determination of equal yom, equal night, and they would blow the shofar and let everybody know it started yesterday, it starts today, etmol, hayom, or the next yom, and start their calendar in the ancient days.
Right.
There was no printed calendars you could buy in the local flea market in Israel. You know what I mean?
Right.
The high Rabbi would calculate it, the Zadok, Kohan would calculate it and blow the shofar and announce it, and then you clock it from then on. You know what I mean? So all this stigma, like some of these groups got to print a calendar up and get it 2 years at 1, 2, 3 years, and by the 3rd year it's off.
Right.
If they just make it once a year, it might work better for them, because the equal yom and equal night doesn't mean it falls in line exactly.
Right. I'm going to say this, that everything that we've been taught, we need to unlearn.
Right.
Okay, and what I mean by this is the way that we've been taught how the earth goes around the sun and this type of stuff. This has to do with the calendar also. So we need to unlearn that what we've learned. So when we come in, when we start this teaching, don't come in with any
preconceived ideas.
Yeah, preconceived ideas.
All the globe pictures as a child.
Yeah. Forget about the globe. Forget about the calendar. Forget about all of that stuff, and let's just read what the Torah says.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for tuning in. We get a little plug in there for next week. All right.
Okay.
Shabbat Shalom and Hag